Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new tutorial video. My name is ADCArtAttack and today we're going to be drawing Beerus from the Dragon Ball Super series. Now, or Dragon Ball Z actually, he did appear at the end of that sort of the movie. But I'm going to be showing you how to draw him in the most efficient way, and this is going to be a full body tutorial, full body drawing of Beerus. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to color this in sort of like this sort of mode real time. But at the end, I might just skip forward and start coloring him, let you know on screen what I'm using at the times. But this, for the most part, will be a full sort of real-time tutorial showing you how to draw him in the most fastest, quickest, efficient, and easiest way possible. So to start with, before we even get on with our drawing, we want to make sure that we've got everything ready to begin. So first things first, we get ourselves a nice sheet of paper, and I'm using one of the Arteza branded sheets of paper. Now, I am an affiliate of Arteza, so this isn't a plug for them necessarily, but I do take it upon myself to plug them. If you wanted to buy anything from Arteza, there's a link in the description down below, and you guys can click on the affiliate link, and obviously if you make any purchases, then I get a little something out of it myself. So I'll be using my Arteza sketch pencils, because they're the only pencils I already have, and the Arteza paper. Now, I got my sharpener and I got an eraser next to me, just in case we're making mistakes, but I'm going to try my best not to use either of them right now. Maybe the sharpener, but not the eraser, because I just want to prove that these are the most efficient tutorials out there and do my best with it. So, beginning with the tutorial right now, we want a circle template, because if you can't draw a circle, you're going to need one of these. So we're going to get ourselves a little circle. Now I'm using a 50-cent coin here, but we're going to do a circle, and this is going to help us to scale the character on how large we want him. So this is going to be pretty much the size of the head right here, and it's a pretty small head because Beerus has an odd shape to him, an odd scale. So what we want to do is just mark off the circle. Now the only circle that really matters is the top one. The rest of them will just fall in line with each other. So let's get on with this. Okay, so as you can see here, I've now got 8 circles right here, and I'm a little bit low, so I'm going to push this back a bit so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. Now, the scale is pretty large. This is a full-scaled piece of Beerus, drawing of Beerus, should I say. So we're going to start the drawing the way we should start it, which is figuring out where things go. And I like to just start with the head straight off the bat, and this gives me a good idea for the rest of the drawing. So let's begin with that. So with the head, I found a lot of people worry with this, and they have a little bit of a difficulty with Beerus's head, because he does have a bit of an odd head shape when it comes to the Dragon Ball universe. But I'm just going to show you how easy it can be, and just, you don't need to worry about this head at all. It's quite an easy head to draw, and there's just a few simple guides to doing this. So what we want to do is just cut this circle in half. Now I should note that we do need a ruler at this point, and because I don't have a ruler on hand, I don't know where my rulers are gone, I'm going to be using one of these chameleon pens. And I'm just going to do a straight line down the middle of all of these circles, because later on a straight line will help us. So there's just a line going straight away down the middle of all the circles. Now from this straight line over here, we just want to cut this one in half. So let's just pretend that we know where the halfway line is. So it's just going to come across here like so. So there's the halfway, and from this halfway we can just pretty much draw the the face from here. It's very easy to do. I'm just going to show you what we do. We're going to cut across this circle and come on the outside just like this. We do make these 2 little lines just on the outside of the circle. Now I should have really finished off the rest of the circle here, but it's okay. We're just going to follow the edge of that circle like so, not too low down, and we're just going to come in and start to curve this line inwards and sort of go towards this sort of center point over here, and start to curve it down towards this point there, just like that. We don't need to go crazy just yet. We're just making rough lines, because these can change as we get our drawing done, and that's perfectly fine because we're doing rough guidelines. So we don't need to worry too much about these lines just yet. We can just make these little things and work on them later on. So now that we got that one, we want to come down a little bit lower, a little bit more on the inside of it, and we just start making this point coming in here. Starts to curve around and starts to go down. And once it gets down low enough to about here, leaving ourselves a generous gap just along the bottom there, we start to curve in and come towards the center line like this. So there you go. We've got a bit of a base for the outside of his face, and we'll go over here and we'll pretty much repeat the same process on the other side. So we come down just a little bit, we start to curve around here, and as we come in, we start curving around. We make this little lip area just there, like that, and there you go. You've got a bit of a Beerus face already coming on. So what we're going to do from here is just add that lower part of the mouth. So just here, this is the lower lip of Beerus. So we just add that in just like this. And I'm trying to be as precise as I can here. I don't want to use an eraser because I want you guys to get the best tutorial out there. So I'm trying my best not to erase here. So I'm going to try and get it perfect pretty much first time, which is a little bit difficult, and I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. I'd recommend making a lot of messy lines. But let's start doing the nose. So the nose comes down pretty low. So we're just going to make a point just there, sort of where that curve comes in was the middle of those curves. And we'll make a little point just up here. We don't need to make the nose crazy large. Something like this. And we'll just make a sort of rough point on where we think that nose is. just there. So that doesn't look like a bad nose. We've got a sort of nose in there. Now, if you have gone a little bit off center, like I have slightly, it's okay. We can just extend it later on, but we'll just do that like that. Bear in mind, there is an inking process later on. Now, to get the eyes, I like to do this little trick. I like to just draw a little bit of a shadow line coming off the nose just here, just to help me. And once I get a little bit above these points here, so around there, I can make a straight line coming out towards there, and a straight line coming out towards here. And now these lines are pretty much going to be the lower part of the eyes. Now moving on to the eyes themselves, we make a small little line going up from the inside, slightly outside the nose here, and then it starts to go on a bit of a diagonal sort of slant here. Over this side, we curve upwards towards that point, and there you go, we have one of the eyes. On the other side, we do the same thing. We want to sort of match it up, so we don't want to go too far. And as you can see, we can already see that I've gone too far with this side of the nose, because it doesn't match symmetrically here and here. That's okay. We'll just do that like that. We'll slant across, do the same thing, coming across here. We'll come down and we slant it around like so. So he's got these really cat's eyes. I mean, that's the point. He is a cat. So there you go. And then you can make the eyes, these sort of eyelids, I guess they are. Just going around the outside like this. And another one just here. And another one just there. And there you go. We've started to get a face. We can start with the rest of the head now. That little point that we came up to just outside, we start to bring it back in towards the circle. Same thing over here, we bring it back in towards the circle. Now, again, I would have recommended finishing this circle, but never mind. And just over here, just where that point meets the tip of the sort of line there, we make a straight line, not too far, and we start to curve in towards that edge of the head. So it comes in like that. Same on the other side, and you'll notice that this side comes in a lot more than the other side. So you just do something like that, and there you go. That's sort of Beerus' head in the works right here. It's looking pretty good, I must say. Now to get the top of the ears, all we want to do is the equal size of this face. So let's get our stencil just to make it easy for ourselves. We come up here and we make a little line there, but we want to actually go a little bit higher than that. So let's bring that down just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing exactly. And we just go a little bit higher than that. So maybe here will give us the top of the ears. And all we do from this point onwards is we just make a line that goes straight away up like that. And it just depends on how much of the ear you want to be tilted or whatever you want expression wise with the ears, because as he is a cat, a lot of his expressions are going to be in his ears. So whenever you do this character, just figure out how you want these ears to look. And to do the inside of the ear, we just come where these eyes meet. So wherever these eyes start to meet the outside of the circle or the head, we bring these lines out like that, and then we go up. So we've got a little point like that. Over here, we bring it out again slightly, and then we'll just go up like that. Bear in mind, he does have a sort of, I don't know, some kind of earring on his head, but we just figured that out. We got a bit of a curve there like that, and the same thing over here. We did the same thing coming out. How high do you want to go with that? Maybe just to where these circles start to come inwards, these lines, sorry. We come out like this, and we do the same thing again. Come up, and there you go. We got his ears, and then you can refine them later on and figure out exactly how you want to do these ears. Later on, it's entirely up to you, but then fill out these details on the inside. So just give him, I don't know, some sort of inner ear shape going here. A few lines there. Go up here, we do the same thing, just sort of going inwards like that. And this does come with practice. I mean, I am freestyling this right now because I have done this before. I did practice, so I sort of know this character and it's not too difficult for me. That will come with time. If you just implement these easy guides, it will come in time and you will figure out exactly how to do it. So doing the outside of the neck, we follow just the outside of these lower lips and we just go straight down with them like that. Nothing too crazy just yet. And we figure out this point here. This point here is actually important. This point here is the lower part of his sort of chest piece that he has. So what we want to do is we want to come just a little bit below this chin over here, and we draw a straight line out. We come towards the outside of the head, so here, right here is sort of our starting point for where this thing's going to be. So we make a slight diagonal line, again, coming towards that center point just there. Make a line coming out here, do the same thing on the other side. We come down a little bit, we go towards the outer cheek over here, and then we do the same thing. We just go out, coming towards that line there, and we go out like this. Now, to get the width of the character, what we do is half of this face. So half of this face here and here, we go out to about here. So wherever this is pretty much going to be the outside of this thing that we want. So again, we do the same thing over here, about halfway between these points, and there you go. We've got sort of the outside of that thing there. So all we're going to do now is just make a nice curved line. Now this is quite difficult. There is no tutorial for this. I'm just going to say it's a bit of practice, but just do yourself a nice curved line coming down and meeting onto this line just here. Do the same thing coming over this side. It's probably best to start with the corners first rather than starting from the center and trying to get out to the corner. That's my preference. It's entirely up to you how you guys do it, whichever one works best for you. But there you go, we've got a bit of a neck piece there. Now I'll start to fill out a little bit of these details just to make it look like it should. Okay, so as you can see here, we've started to get a bit of that Beerus shape going around his thing, around his neck. So what we'll do is here, just come in and start working on this neck area. So we come down pretty low, and we just start to curve it back up. Like that, nothing crazy. Come a little bit lower than that point, and again, we just curve it back up like that. You can start filling out the neck if you choose, so it's just a few little lines just here and here. The chest slightly peeks over, but again, nothing crazy. And don't forget to put this collar on him. He does have a collar, so we'll put that around him. It just comes on the outside there. It's quite difficult to differentiate between the collar and the lower lip, but I think we did pretty well just there. Okay, so moving on to the rest of the body. Now we can't add a slant to this actually. I might have gone a bit too straight with that. We'll just slant that down just a little bit. Moving on to the rest of the body anyway, let's figure out how we do the arms. So doing the arms is pretty fun. What I'm going to do is just come to that point that I made before. Remember this circle point right there? So just there. And all I'm going to do is a straight line that comes down from there. And that's going to go straight away down. So let's get our ruler just to make this look nice and neat for you guys. What we're going to do is just come and cut across the side of that. Just cut across the side of that cheek. So there you go. Straight line, straight away down there. We'll do the same thing on the other side. It's going to cut right across that cheek. So where those 2 points meet. So let's come and there you go. There you go, we've got a sort of our arms. We know where our arms are going to be. So let's start figuring this bit out. What we're going to do with this line just here, this is the lower part of the belt right there. So the lower part of the belt is just there, and we just want to figure out how high we need to be with this, how wide, sorry. So we're slightly outside of this head. Something there isn't too bad, and again, slightly outside of that head, around there isn't too bad. And it's going to come up about halfway between these 2 points here. So about halfway just there, that doesn't look terrible. And we're just going to do a nice simple block shape in here. Now, usually with my tutorials, I would suggest drawing the entire figure first roughly and then building upon it. But this tutorial, I'm just trying to make it as neat as I can and give you guys the best result. So moving on to the outside, how wide does his shoulder, his rib cage has to be? So that's going to be about the midpoint between these 2 points here. So the midpoint here coming straight down to about here. Yep. That's about right, and the midpoint over here coming down to about here. Okay, so all we want to do now is come onto this line slightly inside this bit, very slightly inside it, not crazy. And we're just going to come around here and do ourselves a nice little rough line like that. We'll do the same thing on the other side. We're going to come out here, and we've sort of got a bit of a rib cage going on for Beerus there. It's not looking terrible. Do a straight line straight away down the middle just to implement the abs in there, and we'll do 2 lines just coming outside the other sides. So he has a bit of a weird rib cage, but there you go. Remember, his rib cage is pretty much on full display. He is quite skinny, so we'll just keep that in like that. There you go. Now, moving on to the arms themselves. The arms are pretty easy, pretty fun to do as well. All we're going to do is just around this point here, just a little bit below this line, so about here to there, is where the corner of our elbow is going to be. Same thing over here. It's almost symmetrical. You can drop it down lower if you choose. In fact, why not? Let's drop it down a little bit lower. We'll go down to there, just to change up the pace of the position of the character. So over here, all we'll do is that's the corner of our elbow. We bring this point and we just do a straight line coming up to there. Over here, we do come in a little bit. So about here doesn't look too bad. Come in there and we'll just bring that in straight like that. We're going to make basic lines, by the way, guys. And from here, we're just going to come up to this, and we're going to bring that one in slightly. We don't have to go crazy with it. It depends on what kind of angle you want with that arm. I don't know. Something like that doesn't look terrible with the angle. And the same thing, we'll come down to the bottom over here, quite low with this bit, and we're going to meet this up over where this corner is and give it a bit of a sort of turn just there. There's one of the arms, and I'm going to show you how to fill out the details on this arm. So when we're doing the arm, we want to come down to about this point here for the shoulder. We're going to come in and you can start building some muscle on this. We can go around a little bit. Be careful how much muscle you add because this is Beerus and he is quite skinny. So once again, just be careful of how much muscle you add. We're going to come down there like that. The tricep will come out, but don't worry too much about that. All we're going to do is from here, just bring that tricep all the way out as one tricep. We're not going to separate them because he has this sort of collar around his arm. So we don't need to separate that that tricep, sorry. So what we'll do is we'll come to where it would usually separate and start to cut across like this and give ourselves enough room to add this sort of collar thing in there. Now, if you feel like it's done too small or anything like that, or it's not low enough, you can just adjust it as I am here. It needs to be a bit adjusted, but there you go. Coming into this part of the shoulder, let's fill out those details. We'll bring them back in like that. And over here, we do the same thing. We come inside for this bicep, bring it down. There you go. We're sort of getting a bit of the arm. It's not looking terrible. It's looking good. It's not looking terrible. That's like my catchphrase now. What am I saying? We'll come up to this bit and we'll just curve that inwards. And then we start to fill out where his sort of gauntlets are. So they'll come down here I don't know, something like this. Be carefree with this. Rush a little bit when you're doing yours. Just rush and see what you can get, and then start building upon it later. Obviously, I'm trying to be precise straight away, which is quite difficult, especially in a tutorial setting. Tutorials are pretty difficult to do. They're not as free for me, so it's quite difficult to actually get them accurate, but I think we're doing well, so that is a good thing. Now I'm going to do the other arm, in the exact same style, so we're not going to really go for a tutorial on that. I'm going to do the exact same style that I just did just then to get the same results. Okay, so one of the arms is now done. We actually got both of the arms done. Nice, it looks good. Okay, it's looking like Beerus, and that's the thing that we wanted to do with this tutorial, so that's a good first impression. I like it. So, moving on to the legs. Now, this is where things start to get a bit complicated. Now, what I'm going to do here quickly is zoom out. And I'm using my phone to record for a better quality, so this is a bit difficult, but there you go. We've sort of got a zoom out action thing going on there. That's nice-ish. Okay, and to do the legs, now we need to figure out some key areas first and foremost. That is the most important thing. So let's figure out these key areas. So right here is sort of where our knees are going to be. So on this point in here, this line that separates 5 and 6, this is where our knees are going to be. So all you can do from here is just draw a straight line that comes down towards these. And I would not usually do a rough guide. Obviously, I don't want to do that in this kind of tutorial setting. But for you guys, I think it's necessary for the legs that I do this rough guide because of the thing that we got going on here. It's a pretty intense thing to do, and yeah. So we're gonna have this shin sort of coming down, and now this is gonna come right away down to the bottom of 7 and 8, all the way down there. Now, as you notice, I've changed the position of this leg. Now that would happen because no one's really got a stiff leg, and we're not drawing a stiff leg character. So you can have one coming out a little bit and then going back in. We could actually go out further than this. It doesn't have to be as narrow as that, and in fact, we could go to about here, maybe like there, and have him come down. Just depends on the pose that you want the character to be in. So just be aware that these two parts are almost the same length, actually, with this character. So just bear that in mind. It's pretty useful knowledge. So doing the outside of the trousers. Firstly, we want to come up to where they meet the belt. Now remember, again, you want to come just inside the belt mark. You don't want to go right to the outside of the belt. You just want to add a bit of texture and detail to it. So what we do here is become slightly outside of these points, just over here, and figure out how wide you need to be with this character first and foremost, because now that you've got these slight little points here and here, you now figure out how wide you need to go following the outside of this. So how wide does the character need to be? Well, now you need to keep it pretty much equal, going all the way down like this. And we know that he needs to come out to slightly sort of inside where this elbow is right here. We need him to come to about here, and at the bottom it's actually good. Around the bottom down here you can actually flare out the character, so it doesn't matter crazy too much. You can sort of flare it out around here and have the sort of pants where they line up with the you know, with the bottom. I'm gonna draw it and you'll see what I mean. But yeah, usually when like the trousers, pants, whatever you guys call them, wherever they meet with the bottom, they'll scrunch up and they'll sort of expand a little bit, and that's just what happens with clothing when it scrunches to a key area. Sort of like what you get with like a gi when you're drawing Goku. Wherever they meet and they scrunch down, for example, you've got the weight of gravity pushing the gi down, but then they stop at the belt here, and it will all scrunch up and burst outwards, and that's why you'll see when you draw him, he comes in, then he goes out again, and that's why we get the characters like that. So that's basically what happens here. And it works in reverse the other way. So obviously gravity is low. Gravity doesn't work upwards. So as you can see here, we go inwards rather than going outwards. If we went outwards, it would be a bit odd and it wouldn't make sense. So just a little thing to keep in mind. Now coming down to this, we come slightly on the inside of this line, just down here. And we start figuring out where this goes around here. Now remember that these are the heels, so we need to accommodate some room for the, what are sort of heels. They're not really heels. They're kind of the area of the ankle where they're going to meet the shoes. They're not the heels. The heels are kind of down here, but we just whatever. So we come up a little bit here, not to the halfway point, but about here and here of number 7. And all we're doing is just going to mark off a sort of base for our character's trousers. And there you go, we've got a base for his trousers. Now we've got a good overview on the trousers, and we can start adding these details and get this looking magnifique. So with this line coming out here, this line's pretty much perfect. As you go down it, you can just add some minor details to it, just sort of flare out a little bit, maybe come back in a little bit. add some minor details. They don't have to be crazy. In fact, what you can do is just, I don't know, go in here, make this one come out here, and just be aware of these points. When this one comes to here, this is where it should meet the inside. So what I'm going to show you here is we come inwards a little bit just before we get to that point, and just here is where we start to come back out again. So as you can see here, we go back out, then we go down, and we just start adding details like this. So we come out, go in like that. We'll come down even further, and let's figure out our next point. Where's our next point? 6 and 7 over here. So from here, we're just going to figure out a little bit of a detail. This is going to be another crossroad here. So all we'll do is we'll come out a little bit like that. We'll come back in to that point. As you can see, they always come in a little bit more than they come out. So you always come in a little bit more than it is out here. And that's just the way you do it. So this comes down anyway, and it starts to meet towards the bottom of this. And over here, we can start planning the bottom of this area just down here like that. So there you go. You've got a sort of base for the trousers, and I know it's pretty difficult to explain that, so I hope you got with me on that one, just going there, but that was pretty much the basis of it. The tail sort of comes between 4 and 5, and all you can do with this, I don't know, just sort of make it come out like that, and I don't know, it comes down here. Same on the other side, will come out and it comes down here. Now I drew this reference last night to plan this tutorial, and that's why I remember where this goes. I'm pretty certain it's something like that, but there you go. There's a tail for Beerus. You can make it as big and long and whatever you want as you go. Now coming down onto this side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start figuring out these key areas. So again, we're going to come down, again adding these details as we go. We're going to flare out a little bit here and there. We're going to come down to about 5 to 6, so about here, and all we do is we come in with this point. So about there. So we leave ourselves enough room to start bringing it back in. We come in again, we start inwards, we go out, we go straight down. As you can see, we're just dropping straight down now. Just as we get below 5 and 6, we come back in. So we're adding all these details again. We're coming back in. All of the details go towards that base. They come all the way down to here. And what we're doing now is we're just starting to build upon this and get ourselves a nice looking Beerus. 6 and 7, what's going on over here? 6 and 7 is actually where we're going to be on our furthest point outwards. So we just keep that in mind. And all we're doing now is just adding these nice details in. Here we go. So we'll come down here, curve it inwards a little bit, and go up like that. There you go. It doesn't have to come as low as that one, but I feel that one look pretty good like that. Again, we're just going to come out, get ourselves some rough guides for these. And how low does it need to be? Well, we know because it comes as low as this point, just down here. And we can come up a little bit. These can change as we go. We'll figure it out once we start adding in the shoes and stuff. But for now, this is looking like Beerus. And I'm very happy with the results. Bring that in there. Add these details on the inside over here. Again, just don't worry too much about trying to mimic what I'm doing, by the way. What I'm doing right here is from the reference that I had last night. It's not important. You don't have to do it the same way that I'm doing it right here. Clothing changes. You can mess around with the clothing however you want and implement these sort of creases in any which way that you guys choose. Come up here. And there you go with Beerus's trousers. We've got a nice little thing going there. That looks pretty good. And if you feel like I've gone too big with this one, because this one is actually in front of that one, that's the reason why. Now, doing this sort of curtain thing he's got in the middle, I don't know what this is. It's like a belt thing. From this point, we're just going to come out and sort of go towards these lines that we had before. So we're just going to come out here, bring this down like that. Do the same thing over here. We'll come out a little bit, and we'll just start bringing them up in a similar way of the clothing. So we're just going to bring it up, add those curves and stuff. Don't forget them. It has a nice texture. We'll do the same thing on this side. We're going to bring it up, and we're just going to come out and curve it back inwards like so. Now remember to 3D this up, or 3D it up. Give it the details that it has, not 3D. It's not 3D. It has just some details on the inside, so we bring those details in there. Up here like that. And of course, don't forget where it meets, it's usually very tight. So we just have these crease lines up there and up there like that. So we're sort of getting there. We've only got one more thing to do. Obviously, you can add the diamonds in here. He has diamonds along that, but we'll add those later. Down here, all we want to do is start figuring out these ankles. How wide do we need these ankles? So they come just where these outsides of these base things are. So just there is one of them. Over here, we'll do another one nicely in here. Try to keep them about the same width. So that's not too bad. Again, they're following our legs straight away down. And what we do here is we do 2 lines that come down first. So the 2 lines come down and they meet on this line that we made before, right here, where 7 and 8 is. Just there, we've got these 2 straight lines. Again, 2 straight lines coming down. slightly inside obviously. But there you go. 2 straight lines coming down like this, and that's our ankles. And then the shoes, we can roughly make the shoes by going halfway between circle 8. And all we're gonna do is slightly outside, we're gonna come down like this, slightly outside, come down like that. And then we'll just go down and we just start building a sort of rough base for a shoe that comes down to the tip of 8 at the very, very bottom. And that gives us our overall shape of the character. And you pretty much have yourself a Beerus at this point. We can start adding in these details soon and finish up these shoes. But for the most part, guys, we have got Beerus. So let's finish up that shoe right there. I might go a little bit below 8. It doesn't matter too much on the grand scheme of things. But for the most part, we've got ourselves a Beerus. And hopefully I can zoom out far enough to show you guys. I can't really zoom out far enough. Let's see if we can adjust ourselves. Okay, camera has been adjusted. So I'm just going to add these details right now and just get this Beerus looking good. So I'm just going to fill out these shoes just down here. I don't want you guys looking at the shoe thinking, what the hell is that? So I'm just going to fill that out down here. Pretty sure he has some ankle things going on around his feet, but it's okay, we'll do that later. We'll do here, bring this around like that. Don't forget that there is a heel, so your shoe starts to come inwards, then it goes out, and then once it's gone out, it goes around the heel, and it comes back inwards, and goes up, outwards like that. I'm pretty certain that there is sort of ankle bracelets on him, which I will implement later when I ink, but I'm not sure. I don't have a reference on hand right now. As I say, I'm drawing this from my mind, pretty much from the way I drew last night from my practice run. The reason I'm using my reference, by the way, is because I use my phone for reference, and right now I decided to use my phone to record, which is, yeah, a better quality version of recording, but the downside is I don't have a reference on hand, so I have to freestyle when I do these tutorials, which is pretty difficult, but I hope the results are good. And there you go, guys. We got ourselves a nice Beerus. You can come down below these lines here. Just start adding these details like that. Don't forget that his shoe does cut in half at some point, somewhere. But for the most part, there you go, guys. We have a Beerus. I'm going to refine it now, add some of the details, make this Beerus look great. And there you go. We have a Beerus tutorial complete. In under 25 minutes, I think. I'm not too sure. But I hope you guys did enjoy this tutorial. I hope it helped you out. And I'm sorry that it's a bit difficult for me to talk like this. It's very hard to draw and talk at the same time and try to do it fast. I was trying to be as quick as I could. Obviously, going off the top of my head, I've got a lot of focus on the drawing. There's not too much focus on stuff going on around me. I don't get to listen to music while I do this. And it's very difficult to focus on the image in my mind of what I'm drawing without looking at any reference and get it done. It's very difficult to do, which is why commentaries and giving you lessons is pretty difficult in this style. But I hope that these styles of tutorials do help you out. And if you did like this tutorial, if it did help you out, then please leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, I will work on doing these tutorials better in the future, but it is pretty difficult for me to do these. I will try my best, guys. Let me know what you think about it, and I will continue this drawing right now, get it finished for you. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the results. Okay. Enjoy the rest of the video. Bye-bye.